Make no mistake about it. Goaltending is the primary reason for the success the Boston Bruins have achieved so far this season, and that was on display this past weekend as they took 3 of 4 points from the Islanders and Rangers despite being shorthanded, missing some key players. We'll talk about the importance of the goaltending, why some of the younger kids aren't being called up from the AHL, and take a look at the week ahead here on today's episode of Locked On Boston Bruins.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoke to Beat. Today is Monday, December 18th, and I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins part of your daily routine. Free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Before we get into today's topics, a quick reminder, you can find the podcast on social media, X, Instagram, at LockedNHLBruins, and you can find me, my dad jokes, and hockey thoughts at Ian C. McLaren. So the Bruins, without Charlie McAvoy, Derek Forbort, Pavel Zacha, took 3 of a possible 4 points from the New York Islanders and the New York Rangers over the weekend. And yes, you could talk about blowing a lead against the Rangers, although it was just a 1-0 lead that they held before it was tied up and then pushed to overtime, where they lost with some pretty bad defense on display there on the game-winning goal. You can talk about David Pastrnak being thrown out of the game for a hit from behind on Rangers defenseman Ryan Lindgren. You can talk about allowing 4 goals to the New York Islanders before winning in overtime. But the biggest reason why the Bruins were successful this weekend and have been successful all season long, even back to regular season, is the goaltending. So far this season, at 5-on-5, where the majority of games are played, the Bruins have a save percentage of 93.61, which is tops in the NHL. And if you look at all situations, again, this information is from Natural Stat Trick. Bruins, again, tops in the NHL at 92.23. Just look at teams like the Edmonton Oilers, who have all-world talent, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, even Evan Bouchard is pushing for the scoring lead among defensemen, but Jack Campbell was not it. He was sent down to the AHL, where he continues to struggle. Stuart Skinner had a tough start, and they are playing catch-up and will be for the rest of the season. You look at the Carolina Hurricanes. So much talent up front and on the blue line, but Antti Raanta, one of the worst goalies in the NHL this season, placed on waivers over the weekend and sent back. It cannot be understated how good of a spot the Bruins are in to have both Linus Ullmark and Jeremy Swayman in net. Some teams are lucky to have one elite goaltender, and then they put in, a fringe starter as backup to give their 1A some rest. The Bruins can put out a 1A starter each and every night, and that's a huge reason why their save percentage is higher than anybody else's, because there's no big drop-off when it comes to your backup. So if you talk about trading a Linus Ullmark for a top 6 forward, again, look at the Oilers. So much top-heavy talent. Even the Toronto Maple Leafs, top-heavy talent. Ilya Samsonov struggles. Joseph Woll's hurt. And now they're relying on Martin Jones, who, yes, had a shutout against the Penguins. But there's a reason why they are bordering on an even 0 when it comes to goal differential. Well, that's not true. They're at plus 16 at the moment, but prior to that, before Joseph Woll took over, then he was hurt. Now with Martin Jones getting that 7-0 win, that obviously almost doubled their goal differential right there. So all that to say, goaltending is so very important in today's NHL. And the Bruins, yeah, they allowed 4 goals to the Islanders on Friday night, but Linus Ullmark made several 10-bell saves to keep his team in it. Think of that one on Simon Wahlstrom, who leads the league in shorthanded goals. He had another shorthanded opportunity after having already scored. He had all the room in the world to get it up and over Ullmark's pad, but Ullmark did everything he could to keep the puck out of the net, and he made several other huge saves in that one as well. And then you have the next night, a back-to-back situation. Some teams, you have a performance like that, and then you're tempted to go back to your starter for the back-to-back situation where typically perform not even close to as well in the second part. And they have the luxury of deploying Jeremy Swayman, who plays well against the New York Rangers, who have some great offensive talent. Yes, Ullmark had an .892 save percentage in that one, but again, it could have been so much worse. And if you look at the Bruins, overall, they are a negative team when it comes to shot attempt differential. In fact, they rank 22nd in the NHL, so they're giving up more shot attempts than they are generating in all situations. If you look at shots as well, they are on the negative side of the ledger there. The Bruins, where are they here? 49.05% of shots generated in Bruins games this season have been Boston's. So over half of the shots they've given up, 939 shots. They have taken 904. Now, one thing they are good at is suppressing some high danger chances. They are above 50% when it comes to high danger attempts. So that's kind of like in the home plate area around the net. So they're helping protect their goalies. They are giving their goalies ample room to see these shots that are coming through. But it's a challenge without McAvoy, without Forbort. The goaltending stepped up over the weekend and maintained their first-ranked save percentage in all situations. And that's a huge reason why the Boston Bruins remain first in the Atlantic Division and tied for first in the Eastern Conference. Coming up after the break, we're going to discuss why is it that some of the younger players from the AHL, like Georgii Merkulov or Fabian Lysell, have not been recalled in favor of Jesper Boqvist, Patrick Brown, and we'll touch on that here as the podcast continues. There's nothing more fun than getting tickets to your next hockey game as a stocking stuffer on Christmas morning. And with Game Time, surprising a loved one is so easy this year. You can buy tickets in as few as 2 taps. Game Time allows you to see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Their all-in prices show your total up front, so you know exactly what you're getting without any hidden fees. They also have a Game Time guarantee, which means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off at Game Time. Last-minute tickets at the lowest price, guaranteed. Thank you so much again for making Locked On Bruins part of your daily routine, free and available on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. And speaking of YouTube, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts from Locked On local and national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. We all know the Bruins are banged up at the moment, and there was a bit of an outcry over the weekend as Patrick Brown was recalled, placed in the lineup for Saturday's game against the Rangers. Why call him up? Why recall Jesper Boqvist if you're only going to play him like 4 minutes? Why not give Fabian Lysell or Georgii Merkulov or some other young guys a chance? Well, there's a couple things going on here that we need to keep in mind. First of all, and credit to friends over at Black and Gold Productions, they posted, or Mark Allred posted a video of Ryan Mougenel, who's the head coach of the Providence Bruins, critiquing the game of Fabian Lysell, who, he's a special offensive talent. He can create off the rush. He had some opportunities in their last game, hit a couple posts, I believe, and was creating things. But Ryan Mougenel also lamented Lysell not recognizing that he has 4 other teammates on the ice. You don't need to enter the zone 1-on-4. Plus, he needs to work on the defensive aspects of his game. And basically, he said that if he's going to continue to play the style that he's playing, then he won't play for Jim Montgomery. The exact quote was, he's got to start buying in or he won't play for Jim Montgomery, meaning he won't be recalled anytime soon. Buying in means, playing in your own zone, playing a team game, looking for teammates to offer support, not trying to bring the puck in on your own, and just being smart with the puck. And if you look at the Bruins lineup as it stands, the fact is they're already relying on a bunch of younger guys here in the absence of Pavel Zacha, Charlie McAvoy, etc. You got Oscar Steen and Morgan Geekie in the lineup, who are only 25 years old and don't have a ton of NHL experience. And you have, of course, John Beecher and Matt Poitras, who are NHL rookies, just still trying to find their way. So with all those guys already in the mix, do you then also bring in Lysell, Merkulov, who have 0 NHL experience and have almost half the lineup made up of young players and rookies? No, you're going to bring up a Patrick Brown who's been around the block several times, who has that veteran experience to keep things calm and knows his role and will play accordingly. That's the big reason why some of these younger guys haven't been called up. And nothing against Merkulov. Obviously, he's been amazing down in Providence so far this season. He's got 23 points in 27 games. In fact, he leads the team in scoring by quite a wide margin. He's got 10 goals to lead the team, 23 points higher than 4 points higher than John Farinacci, who is second. And to his credit as well, Lysell has 17 points in 23 games. But again, he's still very young, and his game's not quite NHL ready based on his 200-foot presence. There's an argument to be made that you don't need every player to be a Selke candidate or to play strong defensively, that you can have these flashy offensive guys in the lineup to bring speed and a wicked shot and create scoring opportunities. But you can't have a situation where you feel like you're shorthanded defensively on the ice either. Think about David Pastrnak. He has greatly improved his game. He has become a two-way player at the NHL level, and he's still putting up elite numbers. So there is a path where you can be an elite level offensive threat, but also a strong player all over the ice. Now, credit here to Parker Wotherspoon, who appears to have earned a longer look here. Ian Mitchell was sent back to the AHL, as was Mason Lohrei, but I think that was more of a paper transaction. The 26-year-old played very well over the weekend. He's very smart and responsible with the puck, but has a bit of offensive flair as well, and has earned a longer look with the Boston Bruins in the absence of Forbort and McAvoy, and he seems to have overtaken Ian Mitchell as the seventh defenseman for the time being, which is good for him. Great effort that he has put in to earn that, but don't expect some of these other guys to be recalled, especially Lysell, if they can't show that they're going to help the Bruins win on any given night. Coming up for the Bruins, a 3-game week prior to the holidays, and we'll take a look at what is on deck here as the podcast continues. As the weather gets colder, the deals at FanDuel remain red hot. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options like spreads, player props, over-unders, and a whole lot more. And it's not just the NFL either. You can get in on the action with respect to the NBA and the NHL as well. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon right now to get in on the action this NFL, NBA, and NHL season. FanDuel is the official partner of the NFL. All right, the Boston Bruins have a 3-game week coming up, all against Western Conference opponents as they move into the holiday break. They will be taking on the Wild at home tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern start, and then they will go out west to take on the Jets in Winnipeg on Friday night, and the Wild in Minnesota on Saturday evening. Then they'll get Christmas Eve, Christmas, and Boxing Day off before getting back in action once again on the road next Wednesday against the Buffalo Sabres. I'll try to get a recap podcast up maybe on the 24th to talk about those games on the weekend or maybe the night of the 23rd so that you're not left hanging there over the holidays. But that's all to say. Coming up, 2 games against the Wild and a game against the Winnipeg Jets. Like what happened earlier this season, a string of games against Western Conference opponents here in the Central Division. The Wild currently second last, a record of 12-12-4, 500. They have a -5 goal differential. They have won 3 games in a row, however, and have come on here following the decision to change head coaches. The Winnipeg Jets, much stronger, 18-9-2, 655 point percentage, which is actually tied for first with the Stars in the Central. And talk about the importance of goaltending. Connor Hellebuck has been outstanding as of late, and backup Laurent Brossoit has also been pretty good. So we'll preview those games later on in the week, but that's something that you can expect here on the podcast. Tomorrow we'll do the Eastern Conference Power Rankings. Later on this week, we'll do a cup check, a look at the top 5 teams around the NHL and where the Bruins rank among them. and bring you all the latest on the black and gold, because that's what we're all about here on the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I hope you all had a great weekend. We had another holiday gathering with family on Saturday, which was very fun. Another one coming up this Saturday. It's that time of year. It's also a time of year where it's not as joyful for everybody. So please do take care of yourselves, friends. Take care of each other. And we'll talk to you again here tomorrow on a brand new episode of Locked On Boston Bruins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day. Talk to you later.